Please welcome the disappointment and housekeeper of the family. The room erupted. Laughter. Real, gut-busting laughter. I stood there, I froze as the spotlight hit me. My daughter, Emma, still in her ivory wedding dress, lifted her champagne glass like she was toasting some inside joke. My wife, Claire, clapped with both hands high, her eyes glinting with cruel pleasure. I didn't laugh. My jaw clenched so tight I thought I'd break my own teeth. My shoulders shook, but not from laughter, from trying to hold in a tidal wave of rage and humiliation. My hands gripped the envelope in my pocket like it was the last lifeline keeping me tethered to sanity. It's just a joke, Dad, Emma chirped, sipping her wine. Lighten up. But I didn't. Instead, I stood up. Slowly. Intentionally. Like a man preparing for war. The laughter died down, some people whispering, others suddenly uncomfortable. Claire's clapping faltered. She squinted at me, probably wondering what the hell I was doing. I pulled the envelope from my pocket. This, I said, holding it up, is not a joke. Silence. You know, Claire. Emma. I've spent most of my life doing everything to keep this family together. Fixing leaky faucets. Paying off your credit card bills. Cleaning the kitchen at 2 a.m. after your drunken girls' nights. Smiling through Claire's tantrums in public. And now, on what should be one of the proudest days of my life, I get called the housekeeper. People shifted in their chairs. Emma blinked like she'd been slapped. Claire stood up slowly, trying to cut me off. Okay, that's enough. No, I barked. Not this time. I opened the envelope and tossed a handful of photos onto the table. They spilled like dead leaves across the white tablecloth. Claire's face drained of color. Yeah, that's her. Bent over a hotel balcony in Vegas with a man half her age. Shirtless. Her red dress pulled up around her waist. A glass of wine in one hand. A cigarette in the other. And in another photo, her naked feet resting on his chest while she smirked at the camera like a damn movie villain. There were at least 20 photos. Recognize him? I asked. That's Connor. Emma's ex-boyfriend. The one who you told me was just a nice kid who needed help with his resume. Someone gasped. I think it was Emma. Claire's mouth opened, but nothing came out. You've been seeing him for months, haven't you? I went on. While I cooked your meals and paid your bills. While I walked on eggshells and kept pretending we were still a team. Claire suddenly snapped back into character. You snooped through my stuff. You're insane, she screamed, grabbing the photos like they were toxic. You're embarrassing yourself. I laughed. Actually laughed. It was dry, bitter, and broken, but it came from somewhere deep. You embarrassed me the moment you decided to turn this wedding into a public roast of the man who gave up everything for this family. I turned to Emma. And you calling me a disappointment in front of 200 people? That wasn't a joke. That was years of listening to your mother's poison spill from your lips. Emma's lips quivered. I didn't mean. But you did. And it's fine. Because now I don't have to pretend anymore. I turned to the crowd. Enjoy the food. I paid for it. Drink the wine. I paid for that too. But don't worry, I won't be sticking around. Then I walked out. Straight past the shocked groomsmen. Past the old women clutching their pearls. Past the best man still holding his note cards. Out into the cold air. And for the first time in 2 decades, I breathed. But this wasn't the end. Because what Claire didn't know was that I had already hired a lawyer, and she was about to lose everything she built on my back. This was just part 1 of my revenge. I didn't go home that night. I checked into a hotel downtown, somewhere clean, quiet, with a king-sized bed I didn't have to share with someone who reeked of cheap perfume and betrayal. I lay there for hours, staring at the ceiling, the laughter from the wedding echoing in my skull like some sick laugh track. I kept seeing Claire's smug face when the MC announced me. The way her red lips curled into a smirk, the way she leaned into the attention, like she'd planned it. Maybe she had. She always needed an audience. That's the thing with people like her. They don't cheat for love. They cheat for drama. For power. For attention. The next morning, I texted my brother, Dan, told him everything. He just replied, I knew something was off with her years ago, but you were too deep in it. Yeah, I was. I was so busy trying to save my marriage, I didn't notice it was already in flames. 2 days passed. No call. No text. Claire didn't even pretend to apologize. But on the 3rd day, the silence broke. She showed up at the hotel. I heard the banging on the door before I even saw her. I opened it slowly. There she was, perfect makeup, tight black dress, sunglasses too big for her face. She looked more like she was going clubbing than trying to fix a marriage. You were out of your ing mind, she said, barging in without being invited. You humiliated me at our daughter's wedding. Funny, I said. I thought that's what you did to me. I told you Connor was just helping me with the event planning, she snapped, crossing her arms. In Vegas? In lingerie? I pointed out. You think I'm blind? Or just stupid? She had the nerve to roll her eyes. You're overreacting. We had a few drinks. It got flirty. That doesn't mean anything happened. I've got pictures, Claire. Her voice dropped to a low hiss. Yeah, and you violated my privacy to get them. That'll look real good in court. I couldn't help but laugh. Cold, humorless. Oh, so now you care about what looks good. After turning me into the punchline at our daughter's wedding? That was Emma's idea, she snapped. It was supposed to be funny. You're always so sensitive. I gave up promotions to stay closer to home, I said. I worked double shifts when Emma got sick in high school so you didn't have to. I let you throw money at every stupid boutique business idea you had. And you call me sensitive? Her face twisted, and she started pacing like a caged animal. You don't get it. I've been bored, Jason. This marriage, it's like living in a dentist waiting room. You think being loyal is enough? You think being a good little husband who pays the bills is sexy? There it was. The truth. Ugly, venomous, but real. I let the silence hang. Let her words rot the air. Then I said, so that's what I was. A boring old wallet. You made it easy, she said. No remorse. No shame. Just those dead shark eyes. And Connor? He made me feel alive again. I stepped closer. She didn't flinch. You think I'm going to fight to keep you? I said. You think I'm that pathetic? I'm not here to beg, Claire. I'm here to end this. She tilted her chin up like she was challenging me. Go ahead. File. Just know, if you try to take anything from me, I'll make Emma hate you. That was her final move. Using our daughter. But she didn't know what I knew. That Emma had already messaged me that morning. Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't know about the photos. I just thought you were being uptight. She told me you were boring. I was wrong. She attached a screenshot. Claire, texting Connor, let him think the wedding is about Emma. Wait till he sees the surprise. Yeah, they planned it. The whole damn thing. I looked Claire in the eye and smiled. Good luck with that. Emma knows. She's not on your side anymore. For the first time in years, I saw fear in her eyes. Real fear. Then I opened the door and said the sweetest words I've ever spoken. Get the hell out of my life. She walked out slowly, stiffly, like someone who just realized the game was over. But for me, this was just beginning. The divorce papers were ready by the end of the week. I didn't hesitate. Didn't second guess. I'd spent too many nights pacing the floor, wondering what I did wrong. Turns out the only thing I did wrong was love the wrong woman too deeply. Claire refused to sign at first. Of course she did. She thought she still had leverage. She showed up to my lawyer's office in a tight blazer, all charm and fake innocence, trying to sweet-talk her way through the legal talk. You're really going to throw everything away over a few stupid mistakes? She said, legs crossed, voice dripping sugar. I didn't look at her. I looked at the documents, at the section where we divided assets. You threw everything away the second you climbed into bed with our daughter's ex-boyfriend. Claire's expression twitched, just for a second, before her mask slipped back on. You were never exciting, Jason. You were safe. And safe turns into boring. You think Connor's the only one? I blinked. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I asked, slowly. She smirked. You think I just tripped and fell into Connor? Please. There were others. That guy from my spin class? The trainer at the gym? Hell, even that family friend you never liked, Mark? The one from the lake house? Yeah, him too. It was like taking a shotgun to the chest. All the flashbacks, missed calls, girls' weekends, gym sessions that ran late, rushed through my brain like a movie montage from hell. And the worst part? I knew. Deep down, I always knew. But I swallowed it because I thought that's what loyalty meant. Staying even when your gut screamed something was wrong. My lawyer cleared his throat. This conversation is no longer necessary. She just admitted adultery multiple times. Claire didn't even care. She rolled her eyes and stood up. Fine. Take the damn house. I'll get a new one. A better one. With someone who actually knows how to live. She walked out, heels clicking on the tile like gunshots. I sat there, staring at the door after she left. My lawyer asked if I was okay. I don't think I felt this sober in years, I said. 2 weeks later, I moved out. I didn't want the house anymore, even though I wanted in the settlement. It was just bricks and lies now. Every corner held memories I wanted to burn. The couch where she pretended to be tired after yoga. The kitchen she'd turned into her stage when she hosted her wine-soaked book club nights that were really just excuses to parade her new outfits, probably bought for someone else's eyes. Emma helped me move. She didn't say much, just worked quietly, her hands trembling when she found old family photos. She fooled me too, she whispered. She made me think you were the villain. I didn't blame her. Claire was a master manipulator. She spun stories like a spider builds webs, natural, invisible, and sticky enough to trap anyone who walked through. Emma stayed the night at my new apartment. We talked. Really talked. For the first time in years. She told me things I'd missed, Mom's flirtation with her friends' dads, how she always made backhanded comments about me at family events. How Claire once told her, "Your dad is just here to pay the bills. Don't marry someone like him." That one stung. But I needed it. The truth. Raw and unfiltered. The next day, I woke up early, made coffee, and watched the sunrise from my new balcony. It was small, nothing fancy, but it was mine. No lies. No poison. Just me and peace I hadn't known I'd been missing. But peace didn't last long. 3 days later, Connor showed up at my job. He looked like crap. Disheveled. Desperate. "You need to talk to Claire," he said. "She's losing it. She's been calling me nonstop, showing up at my place, threatening to ruin me." I stared at him. The kid who ruined my marriage had the audacity to ask me for help? Why the hell would I talk to her? I said. She got what she wanted. You. His voice cracked. I didn't know how far she'd go. Man, I thought it was some fling. I didn't think she'd blow everything up. I leaned in, quiet, cold. She destroyed my family. And now you know what it feels like when she turns on you. Good luck. I turned and walked back into the building. That night, Claire called. I didn't pick up. She texted. "We need to talk. Urgent." I blocked her. The next message came from a mutual friend. Claire had a breakdown. Cops came. She trashed her apartment. Said you ruined her life. I stared at the screen for a long time. No reaction. No guilt. She ruined herself. I just stopped saving her. And for the first time in a long, long time, I slept like a man who finally remembered his worth. The news about Claire didn't hit me the way it should have. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even angry. I just sat at my kitchen table, sipping my coffee, staring at the message like it was a weather report for a storm I'd already lived through. She was unraveling, sure, but she'd spent years pulling at the threads herself. I had nothing left to give her. No pity. No comfort. No phone calls. I deleted the message. The days started getting easier. Emma came by sometimes with groceries, like she didn't want to leave me alone too long. We talk more now than we had in the last 5 years. I could see her trying to fix things between us, little gestures. She was hurting too, and I was finally strong enough to be there for her, not just exist as the guy paying for everything in the background while her mother turned me into a ghost. But just as things started to settle, something else hit. I got served. Claire was suing for emotional distress. Suing me. After everything. After she cheated. After she publicly humiliated me. After she told me to my face that I was just safe and boring. And now? She wanted to claim I ruined her reputation. My lawyer laughed when he read the paperwork. "This is a desperate move, Jason. She's spiraling." I nodded, but I wasn't smiling. Because deep down, I knew this was her last card. And someone like Claire, she wasn't going to go down quiet. She wanted a show. So I gave her one. I countersued. Defamation. Mental anguish. Destruction of property. Because after she trashed her place, she tried blaming me for the damage, saying I'd forced her into it emotionally. But this time, I had everything documented. The photos. The text messages. The bank statement showing transfers to hotel rooms and spa visits on weekends when she told me she was visiting her sick cousin. My lawyer built the case like a fortress. And I showed up to court in a black suit, clean-shaven, calm. Claire showed up late, sunglasses on, jaw clenched, with some third-tier attorney who looked like he hadn't read half the files. When the judge asked her for evidence of emotional distress, she talked about the wedding incident. How humiliated she was. How I'd shamed her in front of everyone. And then the judge turned to me. I didn't speak with rage. I didn't cry. I just laid it out. She orchestrated a public joke at my expense at our daughter's wedding. She mocked me, called me a disappointment, while she sat there laughing. I stood up and told the truth. I had photos. Evidence. And since that day, she stalked me, harassed me, and now she's here trying to flip the narrative. The judge looked at Claire. Is it true you had an affair with your daughter's ex-boyfriend? Claire didn't speak. Mrs. Morgan? Her lawyer whispered something, but she didn't answer. Her silence was enough. We won. Easily. She was ordered to pay my legal fees. Her claim was thrown out. The court declared the case a manipulative misuse of the system. She stormed out of the room halfway through the judge's decision, muttering curses under her breath. Outside the courtroom, she waited for me. I saw her standing there, arms folded, staring like a snake waiting to strike. But I didn't flinch. You think you won? She hissed. No, I said. I know I'm free. Her face twisted in that familiar way, part smug, part furious, part pathetic. And I could see the exact moment it hit her that she didn't have control anymore. She lost me. Emma. Her fake image of a perfect family. All of it. I turned my back on her for the last time. That night, Emma brought over a bottle of wine. We sat on the balcony, the sky soft with clouds, the city breathing below us. I still can't believe she did all that, she said, voice low. I can, I replied. But I'm done letting it define me. She looked at me. I'm proud of you, Dad. Those words undid me more than anything else. I smiled, blinked away the sting in my eyes, and raised my glass. To new beginnings. She clinked her glass against mine. To truth. And just like that, I felt it. Not anger. Not heartbreak. Closure. It had been 3 months since the court hearing, and Claire had gone quiet. No texts. No surprise visits. No fake emergencies. Just silence. And silence, for the first time in years, felt like freedom. I'd started doing things I'd forgotten I even liked. I joined a boxing gym, nothing serious, just a few times a week to sweat out the leftover anger. Picked up photography again. Took weekend road trips by myself, no explanations needed. No one asking me why I spent so much on gas or acting like my time was theirs to manage. And Emma? She kept coming around. We were rebuilding something real. It wasn't perfect. There were still long pauses and moments where I saw guilt flash behind her eyes. But it was honest. One Saturday afternoon, we went to lunch. A quiet diner out near the lake, the kind of place where the server remembers your name after the second visit. Emma was poking her fork through a salad she wasn't eating. She called me, she said, eyes fixed on the lettuce. I didn't even need to ask who. She said you poisoned me against her, that you're trying to erase her from our lives. I stayed quiet. Let her speak. I told her she did that to herself, Emma continued. And she started crying. Real crying. Or at least it sounded real. But it's hard to know anymore. That's the problem with liars, I said. They even cry like it's a performance. Emma finally looked up. Do you think she ever loved you? That question hit harder than I expected. I think she loved the version of me that made her life easy, I said. She loved being adored, worshipped, needed. But love. I paused. Love doesn't humiliate, doesn't cheat, doesn't keep secrets. Emma nodded. I used to think you were cold, you know. You didn't talk much. You didn't argue when she snapped at you in front of people. I thought you just didn't care. I looked out the window, jaw tightening. I was surviving, I said finally. I thought being calm meant I was being strong. But she used my silence like a canvas to paint her own stories. A tear slid down Emma's cheek, and she wiped it quickly. I'm sorry I laughed that night. You were caught in her world, I said. I get it. But now we're building ours. She smiled through the tears. Yeah, we are. A few weeks later, I ran into Connor. I didn't plan it. Just dumb luck. He was working valet at a hotel downtown. Same hotel I used to take Claire to for anniversaries she barely remembered. He recognized me immediately. Went pale. Mr. Morgan, he started, stepping back like I might swing. I didn't. I just looked him in the eye. How's your life? I asked. He stammered. Not great. She wrecked my car. Said it was an accident. Got me fired from my last job. Told my boss I was stealing inventory. I think she's following me. I changed my number twice. I raised my brows. So you found out what it's like to be her fun? He nodded slowly. I didn't know, man. I didn't know she was married like that. I thought you two were separated. I didn't say anything. Just watched him sweat. She's dangerous, he said quietly. You should be careful. I don't need to be careful anymore, I replied. I'm not in her orbit. You are. He swallowed hard. I walked away. Never looked back. That night, I sat on my balcony again. There was a soft breeze, a half glass of whiskey in my hand, and the sound of traffic somewhere far off below. I pulled out a photo from my wallet. An old one. From before things turned to ash. Claire, Emma, and me. Back when we all smiled for real. I stared at it for a while, then tore it in half. Not out of spite. Not out of rage. Just acceptance. Some people aren't meant to be part of your whole story, just a chapter. A loud, messy, destructive chapter. And when that chapter ends, the best thing you can do is close the book and write something better. With your own pen. A few months passed. The air felt different now, not just outside, but inside me. Lighter. Quieter. It's strange how peace feels foreign when you've lived so long in chaos, like silence after years of static. I didn't miss the fights. The accusations. The guilt trips and forced smiles at dinner parties. One morning, Emma called me, out of breath. I could hear the wind through her speaker. She's at my apartment. My stomach tightened. Claire. Yeah. She's drunk. Or high. I don't know. She was banging on my door, screaming about how I ruined her life. That I took your side. I didn't even open the door, Dad. She sat outside yelling for 20 minutes before stumbling back into the elevator. I closed my eyes. The same cycle. Always returning. Always needing someone to blame. Do you want me to come over? I asked. No, Emma said. I'm okay now. But I think she's breaking for real this time. She was breaking. Word got around that Claire lost her job. Something about screaming at a client, throwing a coffee mug in the office. Rumors. But they felt accurate. She'd burned every bridge she ever walked on. And now, finally, the fire reached her own front door. The difference now? I wasn't the one trying to put out the flames anymore. I had my own life again. I met someone, actually. Her name's Rachel. Not a rebound. Not some dramatic plunge into romance. She's calm. Thoughtful. She listens. Listens without judgment or suspicion. She asks about my day, remembers little details, laughs at my dry jokes. I didn't think I'd ever trust someone again, but Rachel never forced it. She just showed up, gently. And one day, after she'd stayed over and made pancakes while humming to herself in my kitchen, I realized I wasn't looking over my shoulder anymore. I wasn't holding my breath. I told her everything, eventually. The wedding. The photos. The courtroom. The pain. I expected her to flinch, maybe excuse herself, say she needed space. She didn't. She just said, I'm glad you made it out. That sentence nearly undid me. One evening, Emma invited me over for dinner. I brought a bottle of wine and a plant Rachel had picked out. Emma opened the door with a smile that wasn't forced. She looked lighter too. We'd all been carrying weight for years that didn't belong to us. Halfway through dinner, Emma looked up from her plate and said, Do you ever think she'll change? I didn't answer right away. I pushed some mashed potatoes around my plate. Change. I said. I think people like her evolve. Not because they want to, but because they have to, when no one else is left to feed their chaos. Emma nodded slowly. She called me again yesterday. Said she's living with some guy in Florida. Says she's working on herself. Working on herself? I repeated, almost amused. She said she forgives you. I laughed out loud. A real laugh this time. Of course she does. Forgiveness is her favorite illusion. She gives it like it's a gift, after she's done destroying you. Emma cracked a small smile. I told her to lose my number. I looked at her and felt a quiet kind of pride. After dinner, I walked home. It was cold but clear. I looked up at the stars, thinking how strange it is that life keeps going after everything. You don't think it will, not when you're in the middle of it. Not when the woman you married is tearing down your soul one lie at a time. But it does. You heal. Slowly. Then faster. Then one day you catch your reflection in the mirror and don't see the man she convinced you were. You see someone whole again. Not because you forgot what happened, but because you survived it. A year passed. The date snuck up on me, Emma's wedding anniversary. Not hers and Connor's, thank God. He vanished after Claire torched his life, moved to Arizona, got engaged to someone new according to social media. Good luck to her. Emma had married Daniel instead, a quiet, decent guy who worked in IT, hated drama, and loved her with a steadiness that reminded me of what love should look like. Their wedding had been small. No speeches, no roasts, no spotlights. I walked her down the aisle, and when the music played, I didn't cry. I just smiled. Really smiled. Like I'd finally been forgiven by the universe. Claire wasn't invited. Emma made that decision. I didn't push her. She came to it herself after one final call where Claire tried, again, to twist the narrative. He manipulated you, Emma. You've always been too naive. Emma hung up and blocked her on every platform. She told me afterward, I think I needed to see her for what she really is, not what I wanted her to be. That was the last contact either of us had with Claire. No drama. No arrests. Just silence. And the deeper it stretched, the more I realized she was fading out like a bad dream you stop remembering in the morning. Rachel moved in last month. It wasn't some grand decision. No speeches or ultimatums. One night, after a quiet dinner, she said, "Why am I still paying rent when I'm always here?" I nodded. "Let's fix that." That was it. She brought color into my home. Not just paintings and blankets and plants, but warmth. She never touched my wounds unless I offered them. Never tried to be a replacement for anything. She was just herself. And that was more than enough. One evening, we were sitting on the couch, reading. A storm was rolling in. Thunder in the distance. Rachel glanced over at me and said, "You still think about her sometimes?" I closed my book. Not her. Just who I was around her. That version of me, he's gone. Rachel reached over, placed her hand on mine. Good. He deserves to be. We didn't talk much after that. Just listened to the rain. And in that stillness, I realized something strange and simple. I wasn't angry anymore. Not even a little. Not at Claire, not at myself, not even at the years I lost trying to love someone who only loved power. All of it, every betrayal, every lie, every hollow apology had led me to this exact moment. This home. This peace. This woman who asked nothing from me but truth. Sometimes I look back at that night at Emma's wedding, the way the crowd laughed, the sting in my chest when my own daughter played along. And now I could see it clearly, not as a moment of destruction, but as the beginning of my freedom. I wasn't a disappointment. I was a survivor. I kept a single photo in the drawer next to my bed. Not of Claire. Not of Emma's wedding. Just a picture Rachel had taken of me without me knowing. I was sitting on the porch, coffee in hand, eyes half closed, the early sun hitting my face. There was a quiet in that image. The kind of peace you earn. I think that's what life is. Not about what breaks you, but what you choose to build once the pieces hit the floor. And me? I built something better. I stood by the window that morning, watching the first flakes of snow drift through the air like ash from a fire long extinguished. The city below moved on, unaware, uncaring. But I was still. Quiet. Whole. Emma had just sent a photo, her and Daniel holding their newborn son. My grandson. His name was Oliver, and he had Emma's eyes. The same eyes that once looked at me with confusion and doubt, now shining with trust and pride. I stared at that photo for a long time. Not crying. Just feeling. There were days I used to wonder if I'd ever be more than what Claire reduced me to. The background, the wallet, the man who never fought back hard enough. But here I was. A father. A grandfather. A man who had been broken, humiliated, betrayed, and still stood taller than ever. And Claire? I hadn't heard from her in over a year. Not a message. Not a rumor. Nothing. She had vanished into her own storm, chasing something she never had the courage to build herself. I stopped checking. Stopped wondering. Stopped caring. That was the real ending, when I didn't need revenge or an apology or a final word. I already had the final word. At that wedding. When I stood up, tore off the mask, and showed the world the truth. And now, here I was, building something real, with Rachel, with Emma, with a life I no longer had to fake. Sometimes, at night, I still think about the man I used to be. The one who tiptoed through his own home, terrified of saying the wrong thing. The one who mistook suffering for loyalty. I don't hate him. I just feel sorry for him. He didn't know that freedom isn't loud. It's not a scream or a punch or a slam door. It's quiet. It's calm. It's looking at yourself in the mirror and finally saying, "I'm enough." So, if you're reading this, if you're that man right now, still in the thick of it, listen to me. You are not weak for leaving. You are not selfish for saving yourself. And you are never, ever too far gone to start again. The chapter is over. And what comes next? That's entirely up to you.